in the United States, it's another story. We have to build up a majority of the people. We have to convince the majority of the people in the world that that we're right, and get them motivated. And that's a big job, but hopefully we can do it.
Richard, what do you think?
No, I think one problem is the climate change skeptics have gained considerable traction, political traction, particularly in America. And I find when I'm in America talking about climate change, I choose not to talk about climate change now. I talk about the fact that we are running out of oil, that in 5 or 6 years' time, the demand for oil is going to exceed supply, especially if China, Africa, South America, all these countries continue to grow at the speed they are actually now growing, and energy dependency. I think that's something which the American people seem to understand better, and I think it's important that we push that. I think the other thing that we need to push is the enormous economic opportunity for this generation of investing in energy, clean energy. It's massive. Obama talked about it in the election, but it seems to have been forgotten about in America over the last 2 years. Whereas China, they're putting billions into this, to the benefit of the world ultimately, but they really are romping ahead now of America.
Well, the business case from both of your perspectives is strong, but for renewables, for moving down a path to abate climate change. Yet it hasn't really caught on in China, but not in America and not in some other countries where it's really important that there is a real commitment. And of course the United States can't really do that at these hearings on what delegates are thinking about down the street.
Yes, I mean I think delegates listen to the business community. If they don't listen to the business community, it's up to the business community to just get on and do the job. And the reason we set up the Carbon War Room was that we just decided we couldn't afford to wait for governments to make their decisions. Let's set up a war room of business leaders run by entrepreneurs. Let's take the 25 sectors that are the biggest polluters of carbon, and let's work with those sectors, shipping, aviation, IT industry, cities, and let's work with each of those and try to get 17 gigatons of carbon out of those 25 sectors. And let's try to do it in a way that don't hurt those industries, but do it in an imaginative way that actually maybe save those industries money. And we found, over the last year, the Carbon War Room is really gaining traction, and I think that given time and given a bit of help from governments with their taxation policies, we can get on top of the problem.
Well, time is a real conundrum, because scientists are telling us that in 5 to 10 years there will be, if you will, we'll hit a peak on GHGs. We're now at 389 parts per million in the atmosphere, and scientists are advocating that we get down to 350. That will reach a high point in 10 years, and then we have got to reverse it immediately. So my question to both of you is, you were saying in time, do we have enough time for an innovation to drive the market to where it really needs to be to make the difference?
Well, after you, Ted.
Either one of you.
No, it's your turn.
We'll have to wait and see. It's gonna.
Oh, it's my turn.
We don't know. I'd like to see us save a lot of the world. I like people, I am a person, but I'm also a citizen of the planet, and I love all the little critters. I mean, I like scorpions and snakes. I leave the snakes alone on my property. The rules are don't kill snakes. The only thing we kill is mosquitoes. It's going to be a race to see whether or not we make it or not. But we'll probably save something. I've read so much stuff on climate change, and over the last 20 years. And I remember one scenario is that we don't do enough to restrain it. And instead of 9 billion people, 8 billion of them have died. And we have 1 billion people on the planet, which is basically a desert from one end to the other. And hardly any trees left. Remember, Easter Island was completely denuded of trees by people without fossil fuels. They just did it with stone axes. So we're trying to, the reason I'm here is to try and encourage everybody that wants to do something about it while there's still time to do that. And I'm doing everything I can. And I'm trying to encourage others to do the same. That's about all we really can do.
So Richard, what about the time factor in really creating an innovation-driven marketplace? And how do we?
I don't think we can do it in 5 or 10 years, and hopefully those figures are not the most pessimistic. I think, but I think over the next 20 years, maybe the next 15 years, I think that if industry puts its heads together, for instance, we're just getting. We're getting the airline industry together, we're getting the shipping industry together, we're getting the IT industry together, we're getting the cities together. When you actually sit down and look at all the best ideas, what's happening in China, what's happening in Japan, what's happening in Vancouver, and you sit down just like, as businessmen do, and think, right, how can we drive 25% costs out of the industry, and how can we, come up with ways of powering our energy in a clean way? We're bright, intelligent people. We should and can do it with enough determination. If we can help governments help a little bit by, very simplistically, do not tax clean fuels. Tax dirty fuels, as clean fuels start getting 1% of the market, put 1% tax on dirty fuels. When clean fuels have got 3% of the market, put a 3% tax extra on dirty fuels and so on, just to make the differential and encourage people to go for clean fuels. And then once clean fuels has got 50% of the market, well, the problem's solved, and you can start taxing clean fuels. And everybody's a winner. And it just seems like a blindingly obvious thing for them to do down the road there. Let's hope they do that, because that will help industry play their part in getting this problem solved.
Ted, what do you think about a price on carbon?
I think we should have done it a long time ago. Society bears the cost of carbon rather than the polluters. And that's basically wrong. 100 years ago, there was an excuse for that, but there isn't today, because we know so much more. We have so much more information, and I agree. Richard's approach is a good one as far as taxes are concerned. We really need to have the financial incentives for clean, renewable energy, not for what we don't want, which is coal and oil, for lots of different reasons, pollution being the main one, but particularly in the United States, it's a national security issue, being so dependent on oil. And the world is a dangerous place right now.
What about leveling the playing field? In other words, what if we removed all subsidies? Subsidies for renewables, subsidies for oil, coal, gas? Would innovation then really drive the market if all subsidies were removed?
Well, interestingly, it would be a much more level playing field because gas and coal get massive subsidies compared to what clean energy gets. But I would respectively suggest that clean energy, you leave the subsidies on clean energy just to give a little bit of
Okay. Ted, you have an interest in a large solar plant that is utility sized. I believe it's on one of your New Mexico ranches that will service 9,000 homes. Can you tell us a little bit about that involvement?
Well, we're really excited about it. We created a partnership with the Southern Company, which is the largest electric utility in the South, and either the first or second largest user of coal. But we've gotten, I've experimented with seeing, to get on the inside and work with them rather than oppose them on everything. And they own 90% of it. We own 10% of a $100 million electric solar electric facility that we've already made a deal for transmission with the local electrical co-op in New Mexico, and they also, the co-op also bought all of our power for the next 30 years, and we're turning it on right now. It only took a year to build it, and it will have it hasn't, nobody's been killed doing it. It was, which is an important thing if you're a miner. There was nobody went underground. It's all on the surface of the desert. So we're really looking forward to it, and it will. It's gonna service 9,000 homes that will quit using coal generated electricity.
So Ted's excited. He's proud of that, and so he should be. And for young people today going into business, what better business than to go into energy, clean energy. Any energy is going to be needed, but clean energy preferably. Just put your thinking hat on, because with energy, it's already reached $90 a barrel. That's expensive if you look historically. And that's, $90 a barrel, you can make money in clean energy. There's good money to be made. We just need, thousands of young people to go into trying to, into the energy sector. And that should get a lot of people off the dole, hopefully.
And I've been saying the same thing for years, and when I've talked to college students, that just like in the graduate, he said that plastics were the business of the future. Clean energy is the business of the future now. That's where the greatest opportunities will be.
What do you think, Ted? I mean, the Southern Company was named one of the top dirty dozen in the United States. I have to ask you this, do you think you're being greenwashed?
No.
Being used for
No, I think they're absolutely sincere. I'm too smart for that. I started. Everybody greenwashes you a little bit. This room is full of greenwashers, and I'm proud to be one of them. There's nothing wrong with making a profit when you do well, as long as you declare that that's what you're trying to do, make a profit. I've got for-profits and not-for-profits, and I have some for-profits that have turned out to be not-for-profits. We might as well keep our sense of humor too.
Richard, tell us a little bit about this prize, the $25 million Earth Challenge Prize, and what kind of technologies have shown up in that challenge.
Yeah, well, the prize we set up, prizes have been a very effective way of sorting out problems in the past. The longitude prize saved thousands of ships from going to grief on reefs. The X Prize, resulted in commercial, space travel. The Daily Mail put up a prize for the first plane to cross solo across the Atlantic and so on. So prizes are an effective way of getting attention and getting people to do things. There was nobody in the world really incentivized to think, how can we get carbon out of the Earth's atmosphere, or a large amount of carbon out of the Earth's atmosphere. So we put up a $25 million prize to get engineers, technicians, scientists to start thinking, is there a clever way of actually extracting carbon out of the Earth's atmosphere? Hopefully somebody will win the prize, because obviously if somebody wins that prize, we could literally in the future regulate the Earth's temperature. We could when the Earth's getting a bit too hot, we could take some carbon out, and the reverse. So we could actually keep the Earth's temperature around about the same temperature it is today, which is obviously generally acknowledged as a pretty good temperature. Depending on where you live. If you live in Canada, you might want to put a bit more. We've had it out there for a couple of years. We've had about 4,000 submissions. We haven't had any slam dunk winner, but there are a lot of great projects that have come in, and it could be that a combination of those projects might help resolve the problem. So a lot of people have come forward with biochar as a way of dealing with the problem. I think most people in this room know about biochar, but very simplistically, you put a biochar machine in every farm. You turn the waste product into charcoal. You plough that charcoal back into the fields. It's good for water retention, good for the fields. But if every farmer did it around the world, which is a big ask, almost all the liquid fuels, all the carbon from liquid fuels globally would be put back into the earth for hundreds of years. So anyway, it's just getting people to think out of the box, think of ideas like that to see whether there can be another way of approaching this problem.
What motivated, I'll ask you first, Ted, what motivated you to really take on climate change? Was it an experience? Was it?
Well, when I started CNN, I said, this is going to be a very responsible job, and I was the chief shareholder and chairman of the board of the company, and the editorial decisions rested with me. I was the one that made the decision to leave our news crew in Baghdad when the first Gulf War started, and we covered it from behind the lines. The first time in human history that a news organization had covered a war from behind enemy lines. So I thought a lot. I said, this is responsibility. You've got to think a lot. And it popped up after I thought about it. We've got to end the Cold War. We've got to get rid of nuclear weapons. And we have to take better care of the planet. Not just, there are a lot of other problems. The overfishing in the oceans, the oil spills, the pollution. There's a lot of other environmental problems other than climate change. That's just one. You got to deal with all of them. I mean, it's, if you've got a good heart but you don't have a liver, you're going to die anyway. So you need all the parts to make your body work, and the world needs all its parts to work properly too. And it's not going to work properly without gorillas and pandas and crocodiles. And I've got bumper stickers on my cars I made up years ago that save the humans. But really what they should say is save everything. Because you have to save it all. Either we're going to save it all or we're going to lose it all.
And when you left CNN, they got rid of the
I didn't
environmental department.
They dragged me out. I haunted them for 3 years as vice chairman with no duties.
But they eliminated, they eliminated the environmental reporting department, is that correct?
They let 18 people go, the whole thing, and just covered it with their regular reporters. But I thought the environment was important enough, and it was the first environmental unit with any broadcast network in the world, to what I was told.
Richard?
And that was 20 years ago.
20 years.
25.
And they have not reinstated a real environmental reporting.
In the United
department.
States, they're probably not even covering this conference.
We
did an interview upstairs,
Yeah, it was,
but that's for CNN International. I said in the United States, the domestic feed. No, I could be wrong. I hope I am. Maybe
Richard,
somebody's
what
watching.
motivated you? What motivated you?
I'd read The Skeptical Environmentalist, and it was quite convenient because I owned an airline, and so I thought I didn't really have to do much because it didn't, his book indicated that we didn't have a problem. And then I was minding my own business, and one day there was a bang on my front door. Went and opened the door, and Al Gore was standing at the front door. And he came in and he gave me a 1.5-hour lecture, which later became a film. And basically said, look, you're relatively well known around the world, and you're a business leader, and we need a business leader champion out there who can hopefully rope in other business leaders. And he tells a very compelling story, and then after he'd left, talked to James Lovelock and Tim Flannery and a lot of other scientists, and began to get very concerned, and felt that we needed to do something about it, which is when we made our airline pledge, and we've taken quite a lot of time and energy and resources since. But so I suppose I shouldn't have let him have my address. I don't know.
If you were standing in front of all the delegates down the road here, what advice would you give them? What counsel would you give them at this time?
Screw it, just do it. I mean, for God's sake, just get off your asses and just get on with it. It's just, it is ridiculous. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. They'll most likely do it, when it's nearly too late. So, for God's sake, just get on and do it. Do it now. And, just let, as long as they do it fairly and equally across all industries, and on a global basis, no one's going to suffer. And it doesn't have to be very much initially, and then just and then encourage people to then go after clean energies.
Ted, what would you counsel?
Same thing. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's do it now before it's too late. Let's stop doing the dumb things and start doing the smart things. That works for Time Warner too. I was on the board of directors, and I kept saying those at meetings, if you want to get the stock up, we got it. Because I'd made $10 billion. I was in the process of losing it but after the merger with AOL. But it was, in a way, it was really wonderful to have that experience. Because, how many people get to go down on the Titanic? And live to tell about it. And laugh. With pain.
We're going to have the mother of all recessions if we don't sort out our economic, our energy policy fast. At $100 a barrel, it's going to be very painful, and we're almost there. At $200 a barrel, we're going to be, if we think we've got a bad recession today, in 5 years' time, we're going to, unemployment could go, 15% without any difficulty at all in America, and it's going to be unbelievably painful. So I would tell them that's another very good reason for them to hurry up and get on with this.
And if they don't hurry up, I just have 2 more questions. If they don't hurry up and get it done, can business take over and push this agenda?
Oh, but business has to, and you know, we you know, in the last couple of days, we've had a lot of business leaders step forward and join the Carbon War Room as founders, and a lot of companies have come forward to say they'd love to help, and you know, I think between us all, with enough commitment, I think we have to get on top of it. And you know, in the meantime, but one of our jobs would be to try to chivvy governments along as well.
So without an international framework, as Japan said, perhaps Kyoto should not be extended beyond 2012. If that were to really happen, business would definitely have to step up to the plate, or we are
Business has to step up now.
cooked.
Everybody has to step up. If we're going to save the world, we're going to have to step up now. And this room is full of people that have stepped up. They've come all the way over here like we did at our own expense, and they want to do something. And we know what needs to be done, and we know how to do it. We just got to get our governments to and our businesses to actually go ahead and do it. A lot of them have done it. Look what Walmart's done, just a remarkable amount of wonderful work. And they did it a long time ago, before the war room was even started.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun trying to do it as well. I mean,
Sure
it's a it's a real fun challenge of our lifetime.
I go out and rub those solar panels. I love them. I forgot my first solar panels 25 years ago on my ranches to electrify the fences so the bison wouldn't go through them. Bison don't pay much attention.
It's sad that we've got to the age where we like to rub solar panels.
Well, they do have one other thing in common that I didn't mention, and that is Richard's spaceport, where he's going to be, I guess pretty soon here in the next couple of years, sending people on space flights. That spaceport is right next door, the next property, neighbor of Ted Turner's Armadeus Ranch. And I'm just wondering how you're going to abate the sound.
Anywhere in America is next to Ted's property.
So how are you two, now that we've got you here together, this is the first time you've really had a conversation, how can you two work together in the future on this agenda? I mean, something really tangible.
Well, we're working in the same vineyard. We're toiling in the same vineyard, and we're in contact with each other, and we keep up with what we're doing, and anytime we can help each other, we'll do it.
And when I'm next down at the spaceport, I'm going to rub his solar panels.
Thank you very much, Ted Turner and Richard Branson.